Hello and welcome to the Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinx. My name's Chris.
My name is Justin.
And my name is Mike. Today's episode will be going over what's on our minds, followed by an in-depth review of Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom.
Justin's back from his brief hiatus as a magician. How did that go, Justin?
Not very well. I don't have very good sleight of hand.
Oh, yeah, that's a bummer.
It's tough. I thought I could learn it, but, I tried it for about a week and wasn't very good at it, so obviously I'll never be good at it, so I stopped.
Yeah,
and I'm back.
Yeah, why keep trying?
Exactly. If you can't learn something in a week, just give up. That's what I always say.
And if you want more words of wisdom from Justin, follow us at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Casual Cinecast, facebook.com/groups/Casual Cinecast. You can follow us on our group page, and you can email us at casualcinemedia@gmail.com.
Absolutely. Any feedback you guys could give us would be helpful. Also, if you guys could find the time, any reviews in the iTunes store, preferably 5-star reviews, would really help grow the show.
So you guys ready to move into what's on our mind?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Chris, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. This week, I watched Enemy. I was going through Denis Villeneuve, his old films that I haven't seen yet. I still have to go through Prisoners, but this week I watched Enemy, and it's a 2013 film starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a slow-burning, enigmatic thriller that will leave you with more questions than you started with. And it'll send you to the internet to find those answers.
Is this a satisfying movie to watch, or is it like lots of questions in a not satisfying way?
Yeah, I think with movies like this, it's more about the ride than the destination, and especially with this movie, the ride is just full of tension and dread and these unsettling shots. I can't talk too much about it without kind of spoiling it, but if that sounds good, like an enigmatic movie that you have to kind of sink your teeth into and think about, then just go watch it now. It's really good. The more I see from Denis Villeneuve, the more I see from Denis Villeneuve, the more he becomes one of my favorite modern directors. I think he's just really great, and I think Jake Gyllenhaal's really good in this, and he is really good at picking these interesting films as opposed to just these blockbuster films, right?
Yeah, he seems to dabble in the blockbuster from time to time, like Prince of Persia, and there was rumors of him wanting to do Batman.
Yeah, I feel like you have to get your payday, right? So
right, yeah, you need your paycheck. But yeah, he's so good and so right at home in these little weird indie dramas. I wouldn't be upset if he never really broke into the mainstream the way he seems to kind of want to from time to time.
Yeah, he's kind of like mainstream in like the indie world. Like people who watch a lot of movies, really know who he is and, celebrate him as being a really great actor. But you're right, as far as like the mainstream stuff, like the average person might not be as familiar with his work and how good he is.
What would you say is his most blockbuster movie besides Prince of Persia, the most successful mainstream movie that he's been in?
Bubble Boy.
Yes, I was hoping you would say that.
Probably, Brokeback Mountain got a lot of acclaim back in the day.
Yeah, but I guess that kind of feels...
That's just a glorified indie.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with Donnie Darko. See, all his movies are all like indie movies that have achieved either awards claim or like cult status or something like that. He doesn't really have any big movies that I can think of.
Yeah, and like Prince of Persia wasn't really successful, I don't think.
No,
at least it certainly didn't stay in the minds of the people or get a second one.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, but if you don't even get a second one, you have to be really bad, because even terrible movies get second ones, as we'll soon maybe talk about.
Maybe. All right, well, that was what was on my mind. Go check it out, Enemy. Really, really good. So, Justin, what have you been up to this week?
So, yeah, this week I revisited an old film that I haven't seen for a while, although I guess it's not that old now that I'm thinking about the year. It came out in 1981, which I guess is old because 1981 was a long time ago now that I think about it. But then I think about the fact that I was born in 1986, and I want to say that it's not that old because it's only 5 years older than me.
But
yeah,
it was.
I was actually born in 81, so it's not old.
It is.
Well, there we go. So 1981 film. It's My Dinner with Andre, which stars Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory. And for those who haven't seen it, Wallace Shawn is like the guy that everyone knows from like Princess Bride, who does the inconceivable line a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
short little bald guy.
This movie, it's basically, for those who haven't seen it, it's two friends who haven't seen each other in a long time meet for dinner and they have a conversation, and that is the entire movie. Like there's probably about 4 or 5 minutes of movie at the very beginning about Wallace Shawn like leading up to how he got to have dinner with Andre, and then the rest of the movie, other than like 30 seconds at the end, is all about just these two guys sitting at a table talking. We don't cut away. We don't cut to like a flashback to what they're talking about or any other scenes at all. We're literally just with them in this conversation. And it's a super interesting film. This is like my third time to see it, I believe. And it's one that I think just gets better every time I see it. And it's slowly like creeping up my list of like favorite films because I find it really, really fascinating, the conversations that they're having and just the whole concept of this movie, existing and that it existed and it is successful. And have you guys seen it?
I saw the episode of Community that it was based on.
It's probably good enough. What did you like that one?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I really want to see this. It's on my list, and when you mentioned it this week earlier, I was like, man, I really need to watch this. So I think next week I will definitely attempt to watch it.
Yeah, I've seen it, but only once. And you're right. It's great. I absolutely loved it the first time I saw it. I haven't watched it since, but not for any other reason than just there's a million things to watch.
Yeah.
But I fully expect to watch it again one day. And you're right. It's absolutely all it is just two people sitting at a table, right? And talking the whole time. It's almost so still that it couldn't even be a play, because they don't even move around.
I don't think it would work as a play, really.
No, it can only really work filmed cinematically because you can change the shots up. You can, make it more interesting because, like you said, they don't do anything. This is literally just two people talking at dinner.
No one even gets up to go to the bathroom at any point.
Yeah, exactly. So there's very little staging, but the thing is, it's never boring, in my opinion.
Not at all. It's completely fascinating, and I find that like it gets more and more interesting to me because the first time I watched it was probably 10 or 11 years ago, so I was about 20. And while I was interested in it the whole time and found what they were talking about interesting, there are parts of it that didn't really connect with me. I'm not totally sure at that time what did connect with me about the film, but I know now that like there are certain things they talk about that just wouldn't have connected with me at 20, and the second time I watched it was probably like 5 years ago, and I've watched it now. And like this time there was just being older. I think there's just so much more that I'm just like really into and really interested to like hear their thoughts and it's hard to like, explain without going into a big diatribe like they do in the film, hard to explain what's interesting.
Yeah, but no, I know what you mean. I think a lot of movies like that are better the second time or just get better with age. Mm-hmm. As you age, I mean.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. And I find the whole process of it really interesting too because Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory are both playwrights, and I read that while writing this film, they basically just would hang out and talk and record it. And they did this, several times for like hours and hours or however much time. And they would take like the best parts and like turn them into this screenplay. So it's all based on like real conversations that they had.
That's cool. Stuff that really inspired them.
It's interesting because it's almost, they play themselves. Like they're Wallace and Andre, right? Too. So It's like, it's almost autobiographical and almost documentary a little bit, or like reenactment. And I love it, and I can't wait to watch it again, really. And I've just seen it. But yeah, so that's it for me. I haven't really watched a lot. I know I took a last week off, and between last week and this week, I've basically just been watching a ton of World Cup outside of this, as anybody who follows our Twitter might know, because I tweet about it with @BeardsReviews a lot. And yeah, that's been a ton of fun, but no one wants to hear about that other than @BeardsReviews so far. But if you do,
it's true. It's absolutely true.
Cool. But yeah, so that's it for me. So Mike, what do you got?
This week, the movie I really wanted to talk about the most was called The Impossible from 2012, starring Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts and Tom Holland. Have you guys seen this movie?
I haven't. I remember when it came out, I was really interested, but I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, same. I haven't seen it. I actually bought it. I have a Blu-ray copy at home that's just sitting there because I think I got it for $1 or like free in like a bundle sale or something like that because I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I agree with that. So this is from the same director as The Orphanage and actually Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, J.A. Bayona. I wanted to watch this movie because so far I had only seen The Orphanage by him from 2007, and I think it's great. I thought it was really good. I have not seen When a Monster Calls yet, but I hear it's really good. But anyway, I basically just wanted to kind of get a better sense of this director based on more than just 2 movies, so I went ahead and watched this one. And man, this movie is a roller coaster of emotions. It is so stressful sometimes, but it is so well made. I guess for anyone who doesn't know, this movie is about a tsunami, and it's about the tsunami basically sweeping over an island and a whole bunch of people trying to find their loved ones and get back to one another through all the chaos and the aftermath of tsunamis. And it is heartbreaking, it is suspenseful, and it's very emotional. And Naomi Watts is amazing.
She almost always is, in my
It's
opinion.
true. Yeah, it's true. But it's nice to see her in a good movie. She's in a lot of movies that aren't good. I love Mulholland Drive. But beyond that, I can't think of a whole lot that I've really enjoyed her in.
She's not a main player in it, but I like I Heart Huckabees, but
That's true.
She's not a main character.
That's true. She's funny in I Heart Huckabees. But anyway, yeah, this movie is really great. It's The Impossible. You get to see Tom Holland, pre-Spider-Man, and he is very young. Man, he is so good in this movie. That kid has huge emotional depth that he can reach into.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see him branch out further than Spider-Man, post-Spider-Man, see what he does.
He was in Lost City of Z a couple years ago.
I saw that on Amazon Prime. I almost watched that, but I watched Enemy instead.
You should watch Lost City of Z. That's the only movie I've ever really liked Charlie Hunnam in.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Well, very cool. Yeah, I'm going to check out The Impossible pretty soon. It's been on my list forever. Like I said, I've got it sitting there, so it kind of taunts me on the daily basis, so
yeah,
I'll watch it soon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch it after watching Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, since he most recently directed that as well.
For sure.
If I were to pick a movie that J.A. Bayona has made besides Jurassic World, would you pick The Impossible or The Orphanage to watch?
It just depends on if you want a unsettling horror movie or a emotional, heavy drama movie. Yeah, both of them, I think, are really great examples of his work, and I would recommend them both over watching Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Spoiler alert for your review.
Well, I mean, not really. It's just those movies inherently are going to be more interesting than the, 6th movie or 5th movie in a franchise.
Yeah, I'd say that's a safe bet.
Yeah. So the only other thing I really wanted to talk about before we move on to our review was last week we kind of touched on all the drama surrounding The Man Who Killed Don Quixote and Terry Gilliam. This is the movie that he has been trying to make since the 90s, and everything just keeps going wrong. We talked about the documentary that was filmed about his first attempt to make the movie. Since then, there has been reports that Terry Gilliam has not lost the rights. We originally reported that he lost the rights to the movie and he would no longer get to release it, and it was kind of a tragic end to this terrible saga of him trying to make this movie and get it out there for us. But anyway, since then, it has been reported by his producer that he has actually not lost the rights. So, I don't know. I guess it still remains to be seen what's going to happen with this movie. Yeah, it's fascinating.
There's so many twists and turns to this story that it's entertaining in and of itself. I also read that they are making a second documentary, and I hope that documentary crew's there when they find all this stuff out. I'm more excited about that documentary than I am about the movie, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
I agree. Is it going to be called Lost in La Mancha 2?
Back in business. Lost in La Mancha 2. Back
Electric
in business.
Boogaloo?
Lost her in La Mancha.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that all unfolds. Anyone got anything else?
No, it's just real exciting stuff to watch that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay, so I think that does it for what's on our mind. And before we move into the review, I just wanted to let you guys know that last week I guested on a podcast called the Cinema Recall Podcast. And that's a film podcast where they pick usually kind of an older movie that's been around for a while, and they talk about their favorite moments from the movie. And this week we did Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom. So if you're a fan of that movie, or if you're not a fan of that movie even, give it a listen and check out that episode. But again, that is the Cinema Recall Podcast. And yeah, you can find it on iTunes or thatmomentin.com. They're part of that podcast network.
All right, cool. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So are we ready to move into the review of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah, I am.
I am as well. Let's go.
Do these animals deserve the same protections given to other species? Or should they just be left to die?
These creatures were here before us. And if we're not careful, they're going to be here after.
Okay, so as usual, before we get going, just wanted to let you guys know that if you haven't seen the movie, you can continue to listen. We'll be speaking generally and not spoiling the film. And before we start to get into specifics and spoilers, we will give you plenty of warning and give you a spoiler alert so you can stop listening, go see the movie, and come back and finish the episode.
All right, guys. So Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was directed by J.A. Bayona. It was starring Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Rafe Spall, and James Cromwell. The IMDb synopsis is as follows. When the island's dormant volcano begins roaring to life, Owen and Claire mount a campaign to rescue the remaining dinosaurs from this extinction-level event.
It's interesting. I think if I had read this synopsis before having watched this film, having seen the original Jurassic World only once, I would have not been totally sure who Owen and Claire were. Like, I could have assumed that they were...
Yeah, it should have said Chris Pratt and
Bryce Dallas Howard, but I had no idea what their names were.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what her name was until I just read this synopsis.
Yeah, I still wasn't sure on her name. I don't know. I find that interesting about the film, that the names of the characters seem kind of surprising when you actually read them. You're like, oh,
who's Owen?
That is their names, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no Dr. Grant, Dr. Sadler, and Ian Malcolm. Those are names.
Hell of a name, or hell of a names.
All right, so who wants to go over their expectations for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
All right, I'll go ahead and dive into that. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movie-going experiences. I read the book that summer, and then I got to go with my dad, and it was, I think, one of the first PG-13 movies I watched in the theater. And it's really this special moment that I cherish, this memory that I cherish with my dad. And I have since long given up hope that any of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies will ever make me feel that same way again. And maybe that's not the movie's fault, but yeah, it's very hard to recapture that feeling. But that being said, my expectations for this movie were very low.
Was that also in part based on the first Jurassic World, or just in general? I mean, since all the other sequels too.
Yeah, all the other sequels. I mean, I think the second one is okay, the second Jurassic Park, but after that, I'm just not that excited about these movies. So my expectations are often very low for these.
Cool. So I'll go next. I'm kind of a similar story to you. I was 8 when the first Jurassic Park came out, so it's one of my very, very first movie-going experiences. It's one of the first memories I have of seeing a movie in the theater. I think it's that, and then The Rocketeer. I remember seeing that in theaters. It's one of those two that I saw first. I think The Rocketeer came out first, though, so it was probably The Rocketeer. But this is pretty early on, so it obviously had an impression on me. I think you're right, Chris. For those of us who saw it in theaters and were kids, it was impactful, and nothing's ever gonna quite live up to that, Mm-hmm. But that being said, I've watched all the Jurassic movies to this point, and I watched Jurassic World. I didn't end up seeing it in theaters. I saw it at home, and I thought it was okay. I wasn't exactly excited to see a sequel to a movie that was just okay. So that's kind of where I was going into this one.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you guys. Obviously, I loved Jurassic Park. I recall seeing it in theaters, and it was very memorable. And I was even young enough to enjoy The Lost World when it came out in theaters as well. I didn't like Jurassic Park 3 at all, and I thought Jurassic World was better than 3, but mostly pretty bland. I think the director of this one had me more excited because of The Orphanage, and I really thought that movie was really great, and The Impossible. But yeah, Jurassic World and Colin Trevorrow still being in charge of the creative story element of this whole thing kind of had me worried, because based on the trailers, it seems like they were doubling down on a lot of the things that I think did not work about Jurassic World, and I guess we can get more into those in a minute. But basically my expectations were pretty low at this point.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that the director was the same director from The Orphanage and The Impossible until we started recording this, and you talked about it earlier.
Yeah, it's
so they didn't really push that like aspect of it, or at least not that I saw.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe because he's not really a household name, you know. So It's not like they're going to be like the director of this Spanish movie from 2007 that you guys don't know about.
Probably not. I guess that's fair.
So that's where I was expectations wise. Do we want to go ahead and just move into what we thought of the movie?
Yeah, for sure. Same order. Chris, do you want to go first?
Sure, let's do this. So, with my low expectations going into this movie, I actually really enjoyed the opening sequence of this, and I thought it was fun, and I didn't think it was going to be the greatest movie ever, but I thought this could be a fun movie with dinosaurs, and I thought some of the stuff that the director did, the way he reveals certain things, like his horror background, was really going to help this movie, and so my hopes were high during that first sequence, but unfortunately it was all downhill from there, and I did not enjoy this movie very much at all. But that being said, I think this is a really interesting movie because I think the director, you can see the director bursting at the seams in just these moments that are really artfully done. Unfortunately, they don't last very long. And then the acting, I think it's not great. And I think Chris Pratt's doing his best Han Solo impression in this movie. And Dallas Howard is trying, but I just don't think the script is giving them anything to do. So ultimately, I can't recommend this movie. Yeah, what did you think, Justin?
Yeah, so just to kind of respond to what you said a little bit, I had the same thought with the actors, and I guess it's maybe a script, and maybe it kind of feels like everyone isn't too excited to be working on this movie. Like it just has that feeling, right, that everyone doing it kind of knows that what's going on isn't that great, and like their lines aren't as great. Like it doesn't seem like they're having as much fun as I remember. The first ones. The first one, it seemed like that people were enthusiastic, and that kind of came through in the acting in the first one, but not this one.
Yeah, I just feel like they're not given much to do through the script, and so there's not a lot for them to be excited about within the script and within what they're given. They're just running from dinosaurs, and I guess it just doesn't seem. I don't know. I just wasn't super impressed by it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So to go further, I agree that I don't like this movie very much. I thought it was pretty uninspired and unoriginal. I thought there was not only repetitive like story elements that they repeated here in from Jurassic World into Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, but also like the action scenes and the action elements and the things that they had to do. They all just kind of felt repetitive from other Jurassic Park movies. Like I don't really remember very many original scenes that felt like unique to this movie that will stand out. I can really only think of one. I guess I can say it without being very spoilery, but there's a scene where they have to draw blood, and that's all I'll say. I think that's like the only scene I can think of in this movie that felt like something I hadn't seen before previously. And I think a lot of the issue is with like the script, and yeah, just the script felt bland and generic and repetitive to me. So yeah, I found very little interesting. I'm excited to see what you guys thought. Maybe you guys found some more interesting things than I did, and maybe might change my mind on something, but we'll see. All right, so Mike, what did you think?
I did not enjoy this movie at all. I found it to be quite silly, but not in a fun way. It seems like they doubled down on a lot of what I feel does not work about Jurassic World. And it's a shame, too, because I think this movie actually looks very good. It's much darker than the previous one. which I think makes it scarier, I guess is the right word. They realized dinosaurs enclosed in areas is what really works best in this franchise. But the script is so rough that I could never get into it and enjoy those scenes because every 5 minutes something dumb happened, right? So there's a lot of, I think, some set pieces in this movie that I think really work. Like Chris said, I think the beginning of this movie is very strong. The whole movie starts out with a submarine underwater, and there's an expedition back to the island, and it's a stormy, rainy night, and it's all dark. That stuff is, I think, where the movie works the best. I think Bayona's direction and his blocking is good, like you were saying, Chris. He comes from like a horror movie background, so he can really invoke shadows in a really scary way. That said, I think he did what he could, but like you guys mentioned, this script is so rough that it's just impossible to suspend any kind of disbelief. The dialogue is painful. Like even the intro, the beginning, although staged well, is dumb in its essence because of the script. You know, it's just, we can't get more than 5 minutes without a character being so cartoonishly dumb. It's like, do you guys, for anyone who's seen Prometheus, you know, like that movie gets a lot of shit because there are two scientist characters that make really poor decisions in Prometheus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost brings the movie down to a level that is so dumb that you can't get into the elements about that movie that are good because you're still thinking about how dumb those two characters were. That's how I feel about every single human in this movie. Anyway, we'll get into specifics later. But all in all, I think there are some really great set pieces, but they are not enough to hold up all the flaws that this movie has, and there are many.
I think the reason that the beginning works so well is because it deals with characters that we're not trying to get to know or develop because, you know, they're characters in the cold open that aren't going to matter to the rest of the movie, right? So it's like, it's almost when it's trying to not be a script and just give us, you know, a set piece that's just fun and to catch our attention and to like get us into the movie, like that's when it's really working the most, is when it's not trying to tell us any story or anything like that. Because I agree, it kind of fails on that level in almost every other place.
Yeah, I kind of view this movie, and I actually haven't seen another J.A. Bayona film, but I view this as him being imprisoned by the script, you know, and every once in a while you just see him kind of breaking through, like the opening sequence where there's less script, you know, where he gets to kind of do his fun stuff, right? And I just think that he's saddled with this horrible script that just doesn't give him or the actors any opportunity to do anything of consequence or of value here. Specific moments that I really like that I can, or really like, but that I like the blood scene, and I thought that was fun. But then, in that same note, there are things about that scene that really bug me, that make it difficult for me to enjoy that scene. Yeah, it's just really disappointing.
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but before we get too far from it, I wanted to start off on something good. So what I will say is I think this movie looks much better than Jurassic World, just from a visual standpoint.
It seemed like they used a lot more practical effects.
I don't know if they used practical effects or just really good-looking CGI, but I think it helps keeping dinosaurs in the dark.
Yeah.
I remember Jurassic World looked so bright and so fake and so green screeny that, I don't know, I just never got the impression that like they were really in danger from any of these things, you know? In this movie, you know, even though the script I think is worse than Jurassic World, I think the scenes are filmed better and the dinosaurs look better. And I think the director had I guess the director and the DP knew what they were doing enough to at least film the dinosaurs in a scary way.
Yeah, I really don't recall much of what the first one looked like. I mean, I remember it being basically outdoors a lot for the most part, right? Because
in the daytime, yeah.
It's, like the park during the daytime on the island. I feel like you're right. It's probably better that they're in the dark and can probably match things easier in terms of like green screen and CG than like trying to match the sun. I mean, that being said, do you think that the actual like cinematography looks good, or is it more that like the CG and the dinosaur effects and all of that look good, or do you mean both?
Well, that's tough because I think the scenes where they are outside on the island in the daytime, and this is in the trailers, like running from volcanoes and whatnot, I think looks just as terrible as Jurassic World.
Yeah, there's some rough green screen. There's a shot in the trailer that looked rough in the trailer, and I thought they might like iron it out more by the movie, but
Nope.
They sure didn't.
You were wrong. No, but yeah, so like the scenes where they're like indoors look great. Even some, exterior scenes outside look great. But yeah, in the daytime, when they're in those stupid plastic balls, or running from lava, or trying to convince us that there is real lava, I don't think the movie looks good.
Yeah, I think while we're on that note, I will point out something that I think it kind of got on my nerves by the end of the movie, but there were a lot of attempts to recreate the sort of epic shot of a dinosaur yelling while something, with like a really interesting shot or something cool going on around it, which basically it felt like they were kind of echoing that shot from the first Jurassic Park where the T-Rex is yelling and like the sign, the banner is like falling,
Yeah.
I think there are like 5 or 6, and I think at theaters where you can bring alcohol in, because I think those exist, right?
Yes, they do.
It might be a fun drinking game for you if you haven't seen the movie yet, is to drink every time they try to recreate the magic of that shot in this film.
Or every time one dinosaur saves a human from being eaten by another dinosaur.
Yeah.
And they always try to give you the impression that, like, maybe they're just nice, Maybe they're just a nice dinosaur.
Yep.
I hate that. I'm getting tired of that.
We do have some questions that we were asked, and they kind of are general questions that I think were asked with the intention of like, I haven't seen this movie yet. Can you answer this question? So we're going to do them now. Are you guys ready to move on to those?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So the first question we have is from @the_Jen R. And she says, well, I guess it's not a question. It's more of a statement. She says, I just want to know if this movie is frightening like the originals or just campy. So
neither.
Yeah, so I'm going to say it's trying to be scary like the originals, but ending up just campy.
I think, though, if you're a child, like 8 or 9, and you go see this movie, there are tense sequences that you might enjoy.
Yeah, I think what you said, Mike, that it's kind of in the middle. Like it's neither frightening like the originals or campy enough to be just campy.
Sure, but they did learn a lesson in the sense that they tried to make it more frightening. I just don't think it succeeded. So I think they took some of the right lessons from Jurassic World, because I don't think Jurassic World really tries to be frightening. It just embraces the campiness. And I think this movie, for better or worse, does try to embrace the scary elements of dinosaurs more. Like I said, they figured out that dinosaurs enclosed in spaces is better than dinosaurs like in an open field.
Right, like playing off of like the kitchen scene with the raptors.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of stuff trying to echo that.
There's even like a shot in the film that directly echoes that.
Yeah,
that upset me.
Yeah. It doesn't really make sense like it does in the first, like to echo that shot in that moment, but we can get into that if y'all want later.
Yeah. So anyway, @the_Jen R. I hope that answers your question.
And the second question is from @MWTM Podcast, which is Movies with the Misses podcast, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. They asked, were there any dinosaurs in this film?
Yes.
There were, yes.
Yeah. I mean, technically, no. But there's something that looks like a dinosaur in this film.
Oh, you didn't read about that, Justin? They did some DNA stuff, and they created dinosaurs specifically for this film. They're all real.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of work went into this.
Yeah, idiot.
Yeah. I feel like somewhere down the line, that like the 8th Jurassic Park movie is they're going to discover how to do that for a film and then make a film with dinosaurs, and then they're going to break out and kill all the crew.
Yes, that's actually, it should be Jurassic Park 8, where that is what happens, and that's the film. You make a movie about people making a movie about dinosaurs.
Yeah. It'd be called Jurassic Park 8, The Film Crew.
Anyway.
Well,
right.
I hope that answered the question.
I think it did pretty clearly. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
All right, guys. So do you want to give our recommends or don't recommends so we can move on into spoilers?
Yeah, I would say skip this one altogether. Don't rent it. Don't go to the theater. I really want to like this. I want to say nice things about it, but yeah, I can't honestly recommend it.
I can only recommend it in the form that if you want to get drunk and play the aforementioned drinking game of drinking every time there's cool dinosaur yelling shots or a dinosaur saving a human.
Yeah, I actually recommend that too because that sounds fun.
Yeah. Sounds better than the movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly couldn't make the movie worse. It could only make it better. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I would say if you like Jurassic World, if that movie has sat with you and you don't look back on it and feel like it's a disappointment, then you will probably like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. A lot of people seem to be liking it. The audience I was with seemed to be liking it. Although there were a few scenes where I heard audible laughter and not in a good way. We'll get into those here in a minute. So I would say I don't personally recommend it, but if you think you might like this movie based on the trailer, there is a good chance you will, because that is the movie that you get.
Yeah, agreed.
Makes sense.
So ready to move on into spoilers?
Let's
Yep.
do it.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
I'll tell you what, give me one of them cigarettes you got up there. I'll tell you all about it. And here we go.
I wanted to talk about a couple things that I really liked. Like, that opening sequence was really cool, and I liked how the shot with the T-Rex, when the lightning strikes and it reveals that the T-Rex is there, I thought that was really artfully done. When they're in the water and you see the Megalodon or whatever it is floating behind them, I thought that those were really set up really well, and I think there are shots like that throughout the movie that elevate the movie or show what the director can do, but when he's not saddled with this big budget blockbuster movie, right? I think another shot that I really liked too was the blue on top of the roof. Or no, it wasn't blue. It was the Indominus.
The
whatever.
Indoraptor.
Yeah, the Indoraptor. And it was gothic, and I'm not sure that it makes sense in this movie, but I liked the shot. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was interesting, right? And that's kind of, the best things I can say about this film, right?
Yeah. If we can back up to the flashing shots, like I thought it was cool in that opening sequence, but if I remember correctly, there's like 3 maybe scenes that do that same sort of effect where there's like a quick bit of light or something that like allows us to quickly see that a dinosaur is in the room.
Yeah,
and
I still think it...
Well, did you feel by the end of that, it kind of felt to me like a sort of like a one note or like the same trick several times, and it lost its luster.
I guess I didn't feel that way, and I could see why you would, but for me, it was just any time there's this interesting thing happening as opposed to the rest of the movie, I was excited about that. There was actually a really good shot with the little girl when they're going through the museum that I really liked. So she's looking, all the lights come on, right? And she's looking into this glass, and then you just see the reflection of the Indoraptor like merging with her face. And I really thought that was a creative shot. Did you guys have the same feeling, or?
Yeah, that scene, I didn't think of it whenever I was thinking of good shots, but you're right, now that you mention it, that shot was good. I hear what Justin's saying in that maybe the same trick gets a little old, but I didn't feel that personally. And I still don't think that it takes away from the strong opening. Right. I think what does suck about the opening, though, is completely on a script level, because you have the guy standing there being like, what? Huh? What are you saying? I can't hear you. And like you have like 5 guys trying to tell him to come here and like run. And like,
yeah, that
hasn't worked in decades, that kind of scene, right? Like, are we still doing these kinds of scenes? Like, right? So I feel like it's filmed well, but that's this whole movie in a nutshell, right? Which is something that looks good at first until characters start doing things and saying things.
There's a thing you should do, I think, when you're writing a script, and that's like considering what would the normal person do, like what's the most logical thing to do. And if that doesn't work, you have to figure out some sort of more like clever way to keep them from doing that, right?
Right.
In order
Have him
to
take
make a
off
scene
running
like
and then
this
trip.
Sure, yeah. And I feel like there are several things in this movie, and that moment in particular being one of them, where it seems like they didn't ask themselves that question. Is like, is this the rational response to exactly what's happening in this? Because I don't think it was.
No.
And one thing that I don't know if it's something that they're setting up for like the next film, but I was intrigued by the ending of the opening, because I believe it's like the last shot of that opening sequence, and that's of the gates being open, like the gates that are in the water that allows like the submarine to go in, and it's of the big giant dinosaur fish shark exiting out of the gate, right? And like going out into the ocean, into the world where it can roam free. And they literally don't do anything with that in the rest of the movie until the very, very end with like the surfers. And I don't know, that I like that set me up for something that I was expecting and waiting to come back in the movie.
That's Jurassic World 3, man.
I guess so.
2 more years, man. You'll get it.
Yeah, you'll get it. Don't worry.
It annoys me that the whole first setup, it seemed to be like kind of building up to that moment and setting that up, but to like take your whole first opening of this movie to set that up only to like not do anything with it at all and maybe be setting it up for another sequel, like I don't like that.
That's actually a problem I have with the movie too. Every time I look at the island, there are pterodactyls flying. Why have the pterodactyls not made it off the island? They can fly. Like how have they been confined just to the island?
Can they?
That's a long trip. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they can fly far enough, because I don't put it past like the instinct of an animal's brain to understand how far they can travel,
right?
Especially when they don't
being
need
able to land. Yeah,
like they don't seem to be short on food, and the climate doesn't seem to change ever.
Yeah, I just that was the thing that I don't know. Like, I guess when the movie loses you, start thinking about stuff like that.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna get nitpicky, pterodactyls escaped in Jurassic Park 3, and they haven't done anything with it. So who cares?
Maybe that's what.
I think, Mike, you were talking about like repetitive stuff, or they were bringing in some elements of the first movie you didn't think worked, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. And that was like the repeat of the plot of trying to use the raptors as military weapons.
Oh, God damn it. I hate that plot. Yeah, so one of the main things that didn't work about Jurassic World, to me, was Chris Pratt being friends with dinosaurs and riding his motorcycle through the jungle with dinosaurs, and that being a key plot point on how they save the day, right? So what I guess upsets me is that part was so dumb, but there were elements of Jurassic World that were pretty good, and those elements brought it down to like the level of bad, in my opinion, and overshadowed anything good the movie had to offer. And it seems like they've just doubled down on that in this one, and that upsets me. It's like, maybe I'm alone in this, but it feels like that element was something that clearly didn't work and that people clearly didn't like because it was stupid, and they have made that relationship even more part of the plot in this one.
Yeah, they really boosted Blue too. They made him almost human level understanding.
Yeah,
they made him
like
too
he's smart enough to run away from explosions before they happen, just like humans are. It's like, a gas leak, better go. It's like, I don't want Blue to be that smart. This is stupid. Like, I don't know, just on a basic plot level, there's no way to write that plot well, in my opinion. Like, I don't want to see dinosaurs that are friends with humans. I don't want to see dinosaurs that humans have created that aren't real dinosaurs, that are like genetic mutations of them. I just want to see dinosaurs versus humans.
Right.
And I don't want anything in between, and I don't want bigger is better,
Right. Well, I think for me, raising the raptor from like a baby makes that somewhat plausible, or I'll say like plausible enough that he would have a relationship with this particular raptor. But what I thought they were doing, and what I thought based on the trailer was going to happen in this film that did interest me, was that Blue was going to have been out in the wild for, however much time has passed between Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom.
2 or 3 years.
3 years.
And he was going to go back, and there was going to be this element of Blue having been out in the wild and like become more like a wild dinosaur and not have that relationship with Chris Pratt anymore. And I thought there was going to be some sort of tension, like at least that's what they set up in the trailer, which, I mean, to me, I think would be more interesting. Maybe a little far-fetched that like you said, Mike, that he would ever be in that position in the first place to consider Chris Pratt a friend. But I think the tension of like, Blue will trust me, and then if he didn't, and all of a sudden you had Blue, a really smart raptor that you've trained and raised to be like ultra smart, is all of a sudden against you. That's like a big problem,
Sure. So I have two responses to that. You're right. That element, that relationship could be interesting, maybe, if they didn't use it in such a lame way, right? Like, I'm not opposed to Chris Pratt being friends with a raptor that he raised from birth, but what I don't want is Chris Pratt, like in the first Jurassic World, riding his motorcycle alongside a pack of raptors working together. Like, there's a difference between feeding an animal since it's been a baby and it knowing you, and then knowing your commands in combat all of a sudden, and knowing what a motorcycle is and what you're doing and who the bad guys are.
I totally agree with that. And that's why I think like him becoming more wild based and, you know, having tension between them, and it would have been more interesting.
And isn't this what Jurassic Park's kind of about? It's about the hubris of mankind. They think they can control the dinosaur, and when they think they're in control, the dinosaur turns on them and eats them. You know, like the animal instincts takes over, right?
Right.
So,
you can explore that in an interesting way that I feel they haven't done.
No, yeah, and exactly. Yeah. And so, but they've made it so that this dinosaur is subservient or just as intelligent as Chris Pratt, and it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, like it's sweet, and I think that's what they're going for. But as far as like a plot device that's interesting and that has tension and suspense, and I would think the things you would want out of like a Jurassic World movie, it doesn't work on that level. Like you get way more tension out of Blue turning on him, or you know, not recognizing him as much or being more wild.
Another thing that bothered me about that was they introduced the element of raptors being able to hunt and Chris Pratt knowing the raptor and needing to come there to get this raptor to cooperate, right? Or to get this raptor caught because it's so smart and it could smell you for like a mile away or whatever. Yet, when he gets there, he rolls up with like 13 other dudes that in theory Blue would be able to smell from a mile away. He doesn't seem to know Chris Pratt at the beginning until Chris Pratt uses his clicker thing and tries to give him food. So, why tell us that he can smell and hear from a mile away and you'll never catch him whenever they finally do catch him? And it wasn't because Chris Pratt was his buddy. It's because they tracked him down, and then 30 seconds later, they betray Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Like typical bad guys.
Yeah, it's just so ham-fisted and weird, and it's like there's literally no reason for Chris Pratt to be there.
That's true. And there's those lines that I guess, I don't know if they're like trailer lines or lines that are designed to just introduce a theoretical problem that never pay off, but like you said, where like he'll never get caught, and then it's weird that we don't actually go into any sort of plan where they actually have some sort of setup or idea of how to catch him. You know, they don't actually have to outsmart him, they just run into him. Like Chris Pratt just finds him.
Yeah, exactly.
In the very next scene, like there's no struggle after giving us that line.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing is they use Blue and as like half the basis for the new Indoraptor because Blue is so smart. Yet all it takes to fool the Indoraptor is turning off the lights. It can't use that awesome smell to track people in the same room with him with the lights off. Right. It's like, I don't know.
Like it's convenient, or the dinosaur's like smart when it's convenient
to get Chris Pratt back on the island. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when he's there, it's inconvenient to ride around those skills.
Yeah, this is obviously a script of convenience.
So that really bothered me quite a bit.
You know, on top of that, just the whole raptor thing as potential weapons. I think in the Jurassic World, they were being used for like the U.S. government. Like they were going to be military weapons. And this one, they're going to sell them to, I guess, like random arms dealers. They were going to sell dinosaurs to them as like weapons. But that to me just felt very repetitive. You know, it was like we're just doing the same movie over again.
Yeah, and I still don't see how training this is. Why is this better than a bomb? Like,
they're assassin raptors.
This is stupid. Like, this is.
Yeah, I guess it's better than a bomb.
We can train. Yeah, we could try to train wolves, but we don't do it. Like, we don't do this in real life with all the current existing predators. Like, we don't train predators to go behind enemy lines and kill people, no matter how dangerous they are, because all you have to do is shoot them.
Yeah,
like, it's still just
I think that's part of the genetic breeding, that they're bred to be genetically smart enough to do those things, whereas wolves or whatever aren't. But that's a stretch to me.
Yeah, it's a super big stretch because it's like we haven't seen anything satisfying in these movies that indicates that I guess we've seen Chris Pratt hang out with Blue and fight with Blue, but like I said, I guess they're all basing this entire element for this new trilogy on something that they haven't fleshed out in a satisfying way in the first one.
Right. And if you're going to set down rules, then follow them, right, when you set up the script. And that's all it takes. And that's all it takes for me to believe in it, right? Even if it is assassin raptors, if you're setting up the rules of your world, follow them, and I will go along with you, even if it's an assassin raptor.
Right. Like, I haven't seen raptors be scary since The Lost World in 1997 that Steven Spielberg directed. That whole scene in the grass where, like, the raptors are going through the tall grass and you can see the lines moving in towards the people. There is nothing that great in Jurassic World or Jurassic World 2.
Yeah, they're basically unbeatable in the first movie and Lost World, right? They're these ultra smart. They're going to outsmart you. They're going to hunt you down. And they lose that. Even like these ones that are supposed to be bred to be better hunters, assassins,
because they're friendly.
Smarter. Yeah. Because in the first one, they only lose to the raptors because the T-Rex busts in at the last minute, right? Because they're about to get killed by them, despite all their attempts to outsmart them.
Yeah, and in the second one, all you need to do is hear the raptor noise, and then you see Jeff Goldblum's reaction, and he's like, run. Which is scary in itself because the only other thing we know about how to react to dinosaurs is be still when the T-Rex is there at that point, you know? So when he says run, that's really scary because you're like, oh my God, I thought we were supposed to be still. This is a different kind of dinosaur. I'm scared. You know, like, there's nothing like that in these, right? Like, when the raptors show up, you're not scared. You're just like, Chris Pratt's buddy's here.
Let's talk about the one part that Justin kind of liked.
Like the transfusion?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that scene because I thought that it felt like something that I hadn't seen before. Whereas like a tranked T-Rex inside of a little tiny cage, I guess maybe like taking that thing that you said, Mike, of a dinosaur in an enclosed area is scarier. And this is super enclosed. But yeah, they have to go draw blood from like a tranquilized T-Rex, and I don't know, it was like relatively suspenseful, and it was just like, I haven't seen them try to do this yet, and maybe I'm misremembering some other films, but that felt unique to me.
Yeah, that was one of the sections that I enjoyed, but I think it was undercut. You know, they're on the ship. It's another convenience thing, right? So they're sneaking around on the ship. We never see any security guards, right? And then, of course, the one time there's a security guard on the ship, he closes them in, right? So it's just kind of one of those things that just bothers me. There weren't security guards ever, and then the only time there are is when it's for the script, right?
Yeah, and it's also like the security guard being like, "Nope, this is open and it shouldn't be. I'll just close it," and not like there's a fucking dangerous dinosaur that'll kill your entire boat.
Open?
So like, why are you not more concerned?
Yeah, just peek your head in real quick and make sure that everything's okay.
Right.
Exactly.
So a great sequence, but undercut by dumb script.
That segues me a little bit, I think, I wanted to talk about the bad guys as a whole in this movie, and that includes the guy who's like the estate owner of James Cromwell and Toby Jones and like the military or the mercenary like leader guy. Like, I thought their motivation as like characters was really, really weak. Like, it seemed like everybody was just motivated by money, and I don't think we understood them very well. Like, they were really like simplistically written and maybe like stereotypical in a lot of ways, particularly like the mercenary guy. How did you guys feel about like the bad guys?
Yeah, I don't feel very differently than you do. You know, they're bad guys, and they're going to do things for the script that need to be done for the script, right?
Yeah, they're going to do things that are like
bonus. That's what he wants.
They're going to do things that are evil, but just for evil's sake, right?
Right.
And I think looking at other more current blockbuster films, you know, like Black Panther or, you know, particularly Thanos in the Avengers, like, I think it's very clear that those bad guys are successful and people really like those films, and that's a reason why. And like, I feel like we're hopefully getting to the point in like storytelling and cinema that we need better bad guys than just like the evil guys who are evil just for evil's sake or for money, and that's like enough, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm. We don't need bad guys. We got dinosaurs.
Well, I would say the bad guys would be stronger had we known of their existence before this movie, right? Like, they try to retcon everything and be like, I was Hammond's best friend. And it's like, we've never heard of you, James Cromwell. Like,
but you weren't there when the park was getting its test run.
Yeah, you weren't there during any of this, or you weren't mentioned last movie, even.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like, that whole part really didn't work. What were you saying, Chris? I'm sorry.
I have a really important question about James Cromwell's character. Why didn't he clone Babe? And we could have had another Babe running around. That would have been cool.
Like the pig.
Yeah, the pig.
I could have infinite bacon and a Babe pig.
Yeah.
James Cromwell looks the same in this movie as he did in Babe.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He does. Which is
Anyway.
interesting.
So I agree with you. All the bad guys and their whole plot wasn't really very good. I think Ted Levine's character is just kind of a rehash of that other guy from The Lost World, the T-Rex hunter from The Lost World, that bald guy. Do you guys remember him?
Oh, yeah. Pete Postlethwaite was the actor's name.
Yeah. He's just, all he does is ask about his bonus and then collect teeth, and they feel like that's enough character to get us on board with one of the worst scenes in the entire franchise, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
It's unforgivably terrible. So he sees this dinosaur, the Indoraptor, this new creation that he's never seen before. So his first instinct is to open the cage, leave the door open, and start trying to pry out this thing's teeth. It's still alive. It's just insane to me that he shoots it, once or twice with a tranquilizer dart. He waits about 45 seconds and decides it's safe. To me,
And I think it gets worse from there, right?
It does.
It does. Proceed.
Yeah. So the dinosaur is pretending to be asleep, and he swishes his tail, and then Ted Levine looks back, and he kind of smiles and opens the dinosaur kind of smiles and opens the eye and plays around with them, and he's just having a good time. And then I think it gets even worse from there, because then the dinosaur does attack him and rips off his arm, and there's no blood. I know it's PG-13, and I don't know exactly what the rules are for blood, but this guy just got his arm ripped off, and there's a little bit of blood on the dinosaur's mouth. And I just thought that was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. I don't know that it's worse than the dinosaur, opening his eyes and,
the blood
screwing around with this guy.
But,
it's a bit. It's everything short of the dinosaur looking into the camera and winking, and I wouldn't have been surprised if that happened.
Yeah, how Bugs Bunny will turn and look at the camera and wink whenever he's dressed as a girl and fooling Elmer Fudd. It's like that, right? Where it's it's so cartoonish. And here's the thing: it's if you're in a dinosaur cage, and you think the tail is moving behind you, and you look, and you're not sure, and you're well, I don't see it moving now. If you even think for a moment that's happening, just get out. Just, you don't have to turn and look, because in the moment, even if, let's say the dinosaur hadn't fooled him, and he had turned around and looked at the tail moving the very first time it moved, the dinosaur could then just bite him. So there's no reason to fool him, or
He was just playing around. He's so smart. He's playing with him.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense for a wild animal. I would think the wild animal's instinct would be to kill, not to let me mess with this guy for a little bit first, because I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, especially since it doesn't get him in any kind of situation to where it makes it easier to kill him. He could have killed him 0.2 seconds into that cage versus when he decided to.
Yeah.
It's just completely ridiculous. So that's all I wanted to say about that. In regards to the bad guys, it's just that it's even worse than Vincent D'Onofrio's character.
No, I think it's
in the last
worst scene in the movie. I think you're right about that, and probably the franchise.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Agree.
Definitely.
And so going to the bad guys' plan to sell the dinosaurs to the arms dealers, did you guys understand why necessarily they wanted to sell these to arms dealers other than to make the characters bad people? Because I feel like dinosaurs, after they go extinct and they save how many did they save? A dozen, roughly?
Something like that.
And there's a dozen that you manage to save and get off the island. Those are valuable in a lot of ways, right? I would think a lot more than strictly we have to sell these to criminal arms dealers as weapons, right?
Were they
aren't they valuable outside of that?
I thought that it was also companies that were interested in genetic research and stuff like that. I could be wrong, but I thought that that's me assuming, I guess, too.
Yeah, I think they leave it loose.
Yeah.
Well, in the auction, I guess I just got the vibe because like every description of the dinosaur is revolved around weaponry. Like the first one that comes out, they call this the living tank.
Well, okay,
and it's armored.
Right. So I think that, yeah, he's selling dinosaurs to arms dealers primarily, but with the intention of having BD Wong there to just make more whenever he wants. So it's like, yeah, I'll sell a dinosaur for 10 million to 80 million a pop because in a couple years I'll have more. We have BD Wong here constantly making more. So I think he's looking at this more as like an assembly line, not like there's a finite amount of dinosaurs and there'll never be any more. What can I do with them?
Sure, but if you're the rest of the world...
Well, yeah, if you're the rest of the world. But...
The rest of the world, you don't know that. And I mean, even still, like the dinosaurs have value, like to sell to other places. Like I guess I never understood why does it have to be an evil auction?
Okay, so I think it has to be evil because that's where you're going to make the fastest money. And secondly, this guy, like I said, can make more dinosaurs to give to laboratories or research departments or whatever. But then again, I think that's just the script not really addressing this. But, because even BD Wong says at some point they will make more because, the prototype's not for sale and they're going to sell the prototype Indoraptor. And he's worried that people are going to make more of them because it's not ready yet or something. So I think they kind of try to address this issue, but it's not really explored in any kind of way that you really know their plan.
Yeah, it felt dissatisfying to me, and just goes along with the they just want more money, and I don't understand why because they all seem like rich people, and he's in charge of that guy's estate anyways, and seems like he's got plenty of money. So I don't understand a lot of the whys. Did you feel that Toby Jones was modeled to look like Donald Trump at all?
Oh, I don't know. I can see it because of the hair.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me in the movie, but now that you say something.
Yeah, I mean, he is playing like a really obnoxious American type with a terrible blonde comb over.
Yeah, there were sections of it where he was like, I guess like maybe it was him like running for the dinosaur or something.
Vile,
his hair was like
annoying American
flopping around, and I was just like, is this? And it kind of fell into the idea that like the bad guys were just too easily evil. And I was like, are they just playing on that even more by like giving us a Toby Jones as Donald Trump?
Right.
I don't know.
I didn't catch that, but I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest. One thing I will say that I really enjoyed about this movie, and I think this might be the best scene in the movie for drama. There is one scene where it was like when they are escaping the island and everything, and they finally get on the boat, and they're watching like the dinosaur die on the dock.
Yeah.
With all the lava around it and all the smoke, and you can see the shadow moving around in the smoke, and it goes up on two legs trying to escape the flames. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that was really emotional, I think, like surprisingly so. And I agree.
To me, it looked like the first time that we ever saw one of those dinosaurs when we see him in Jurassic Park 1 and it rears back on its back legs to get the tree. Call. So I thought it was a callback to that as they slaughter our memories of Jurassic Park.
yeah. It was like definitely it was the first dinosaur that we see in the first Jurassic Park, and I guess it's the last one we see of the park and island as we know it in this series, being destroyed. So yeah, it was good. I did get a little bit emotional during that scene.
That was a really good scene, I think. So I just wanted to go ahead and bring that up because I just remembered it. That is one scene that really worked for me.
It works from a connection to the other films, though, and what they've done over the years and stuff more so than like this movie. But you're right, it's good.
I have a quick question for you guys too. How do you feel about the bedroom sequence where the Indoraptor is kind of sneaking in and it looks very gothic, and it's what I imagine the orphanage kind of looks like. It's got this very gothic feel to it. I don't know whether it just doesn't fit or.
Well, I think it's filmed well. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit in this sequence, right?
Well, go on.
Or fit in this movie, right? Like, it's kind of this scary thing that's sneaking into the bedroom. I mean, first of all, she's just hiding in the bedroom, like in her bed. Like that's the safest place she could go. I don't know. What do you think about the gothicness of it?
Yeah, I think it's filmed really well, and I think the shots are great with like the shadow on the wall and the raptor reaching down. I think all of that is really good. I think what doesn't work is this raptor just knows how to do that. like open the window and everything. Like we've seen in the first Jurassic Park that the raptors happened to figure out how to open doors, but it took a lot of trial and error of them scratching at a door to do that.
Yeah, they've learned how to, not
right.
just inherently know how to.
Exactly. So if there had been any scenes at all in this movie of the Indoraptor figuring out a previous door or window, it would have worked. But this raptor, as far as we know, has never opened a door, and I doubt they genetically implanted that skill into it. So
yeah.
I think the director does what he can when he can, and it's filmed well. And if you can suspend your disbelief, then I think you'll have a good time, because I think the shots are all good, the storyboard is good. It's just...
Yeah, it's just... Yes. I think it's a shame, because I think that there's a good movie that this director could make about dinosaurs. I just think that whatever the script or the studios, somebody kind of squashed it down, and it's just really a shame.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bedroom thing, too, falls into the same category of, like, the dinosaurs kind of messing with the girl a bit, or, like, taking a bit too long than you would think it would take to kill her, because, like, it could just pounce, right?
Right.
That's what I thought during the scene, at least. But it's a bit nitpicky, I guess. That's kind of one of those, like, maybe I should just turn my brain off and have fun and enjoy the scene.
Yeah, so we have some questions that we saved for spoilers that people have sent in to us. Are we ready to move into those?
Let's do it.
All right, so the first question we have is from Haley Ellisor, and that is, what do you think of the ethical questions presented by the existence of the cloned daughter? Do you think they'll explore these questions in the next movie? I'll go ahead and go first. I like that idea on paper. I don't know if this franchise is the franchise to explore those questions in, or at least it hasn't been so far, so I feel like I don't know if the franchise has earned building up to that yet. Now that it's there, I think it's definitely more interesting than not having it there, but it still feels pretty unnatural, and I don't find myself really asking that question to myself too much in regards to the next movie, and I don't know that they'll have faith to explore it in a satisfying way based on the last two scripts.
Yeah, I think that's my issue too, is that it feels like they didn't really put the time in to make this pay off. You know, I feel like it's there to have the ending of the movie where Bryce Dallas Howard or Chris Pratt doesn't have to make a decision to, like, basically a dumb decision to release dinosaurs into the world. Mm-hmm. And the girl can do it and have a reason, and it's supposed to be sort of this, like, emotional, cathartic moment of, like, they're just like me, you know, they're clones like me. I can't let them die. And I think they want us to be asking this question of, like, ethics and the existence of the clone daughter, and, like, thinking about all that, and, like, start to relate that to the dinosaurs. But I think they don't put in the groundwork to, like, deserve us talking about that, if that makes sense. Like, I think they want us to ask that question, but they went about it in, like, a really lazy, obvious, underdeveloped way. And that shot that you were talking about before, Chris, that you really liked, where, like, it's the girl and she sees the dinosaur's reflection, or it's her reflection with the dinosaur, and they both scream at the same time. That shot, at first, like, the first time when it happens is like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of a cool way to do that. But, like, I think it becomes really ham-fisted once you get to the end of the movie, or the part of the movie where you realize that it's a cloned daughter, and she's like, they're the same as me. Like, all of a sudden that shot kind of takes on this sort of
a new meaning,
a bit too on the nose meaning for me. Yeah. I don't know if they'll explore. Do you guys think they're going to make another movie?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Trevorrow has said that they've kind of roughly planned a trilogy.
Well, I think they've done so little with it. To me, it only screams that, like, they're setting that sort of thing up. So yeah, I think they'll explore it in other movies.
Yeah, I think it's in a better movie. It could be really cool, but they're gonna try to explore it, or they'll set it up. You know, whatever's convenient for the next script, right? That's how they'll explore it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, before we go to the next question, I wanted to ask. Mike, you watched the post-credits scene. I did not see it. What was it?
Oh, a pterodactyl goes to Vegas and lands on a big tower.
That's it?
Oh.
Yep, that's it. It's just like you could have gotten. It's more of like, you know, the surfers being chased by the big megalodon dinosaur.
Yeah,
and then
it's just another one of those.
Yeah, a raptor looking at a town on the mountain at the end. It's just another one of those.
Yeah, it's just like they shot a third one, but didn't
saved it
didn't
to the
feel
end.
right in like the time of the movie. Yeah, okay. Well, that's less interesting than I hoped it would be, because I found out that scene was in there after leaving the movie. And I was like, well, I didn't stay.
I was bummed when it happened because you guys were like, "Be sure you stay for that after credit scene." And I was like,
I
"All
thought
right,
it
here we
might
go."
be-
Team.
I was hoping it'd be more Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
But,
well,
well.
sadly, no.
Yeah. Okay. So next question we got is from Jerry Hart on Facebook, and he asks, "What did you think of Bryce Dallas Howard's character in this compared to the last movie? Considering how hated she was by most people, do you think she's more or less interesting in the new film?"
I didn't hate her in the last one, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. I know she doesn't wear high heel shoes the entire movie this time, so
Yeah.
you're not rolling your eyes every time she runs.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she was fine. I don't know. I like you. I didn't hate her. I think she's very, very far from like the problems that this movie has, or
Right.
even the first Jurassic World.
There is one scene that I think she's really bad in, but I think it's just a script level issue. It's like where they wash up on the beach, and she's like, "It was all a lie."
Oh yeah, yeah.
I hated that scene, but that's not her fault, I don't think.
No, I think it's just inherent when a character screams something we all already know.
Yeah, something that doesn't need to be screamed.
Right.
Yeah,
Or really, when you
one
just scream words, it seems weird to me, I think.
The one problem I had kind of with her character is just let the dinosaurs die. You know, like nothing good has come from these dinosaurs. You know, so from the very beginning, I'm just like, just let them die. I don't care that much.
Oh, yeah, like at the beginning when she's talking to Chris Pratt, and she's like, "Are you just going to let them die on the island?" And he's like, "Yeah."
I'm like, I agree.
And I
Just
was
let
like,
it happen.
I mean, he's got
how
the
many
right
people,
idea.
Yeah, how many people have died? How many massacres have there been, you know?
And how many will die now because of that dumb little girl?
Exactly.
You'll have to watch the third film.
Yeah, I would have really hated Bryce Dallas Howard character if she had opened up the gates. That would have been where, like, oh, no, why?
So, real quick, before we move to the next question, I wanted to ask you guys, does it not annoy you a little bit how this manly Chris Pratt's character is supposed to be with no other attributes? Like in the first one, when we first get introduced to him, he's drinking Coke from a bottle, working on a motorcycle next to like a cabin overlooking the sunset or whatever. And in this one, he's building a cabin overlooking some mountains in a sunset or whatever. And it's like, I feel like the writer's just like, what manly thing can he do? Working on a motorcycle, building a cabin.
Yeah, he's just so blue collar.
Yeah, he's just so like man's man.
The bluest of blue collars, yeah. He'd put Bruce Springsteen to shame.
Exactly. So anyway, before we move to the next question, I just
I don't know that it annoys me because I'm okay with
he pulls
just
it off.
having like a fun character. Yeah, and he works, I think.
I think the macho, like, I think they call him Beefcake in this one. I think that kind of character works for Chris Pratt in his current physique.
Actually, I would like to see a Jurassic World movie where he is in his original physique for Parks and Rec. That would be a fun movie.
Just
watch.
fat.
He lets
Fat and
himself
lazy.
go, and he has a broken leg.
Yeah, absolutely. He has a and he's living in Anne's house.
All right, so next question. So this comes from my best World Cup friend at Beards Reviews. And he asks, did you guys like how this movie dealt with taking the series in a new direction? And he goes on to say, I find myself comparing it to The Last Jedi a lot, considering both are taking their series in a new direction. And he feels like this one handles it better.
Not that it was a better movie, though. That's an important sentence at the end.
Yes.
So I would say if they continue to explore these questions in a way that is satisfying, then yes, I will appreciate it, because I guess we're 5 movies into this series now, and I haven't really enjoyed one since the second one. So clearly something else needs to happen, because they can't figure out how to recapture the magic. So I'm not opposed to them adding more questions in to explore and take the series into a new direction. And I do think I am more interested in a Jurassic World 3 now that the dinosaurs are out into the mainland and into the real world than I ever was in going back to this island.
Yeah, I just don't think anything in this movie, whether it's taken a new direction or whatever, nothing is handled better than anything in The Last Jedi. And that's just my feeling. I know The Last Jedi is a controversial topic, but that's how I feel about it. So,
Well, I think what taking the movies in new directions needs is like questions, right? Like I guess these ethical questions for the dinosaurs, which they sort of dip their toes into maybe a little bit in this one, of like, should we let the dinosaurs live or not? And 20 minutes into this movie, that whole thing is irrelevant because they've done the Big Island rescue. Maybe it's 30 minutes in, but whatever. And so I think the new direction I'd like to go is more question and theme based, as opposed to bigger, badder dinosaurs, which it feels like they're doing the bigger, badder dinosaur things and focusing on that more.
Right.
So I don't particularly like that direction, if that's what they're doing.
I agree. I don't like this whole, let's keep creating mutated versions of other dinosaurs, like a mutated Rex and a mutated raptor. Like, just give me regular dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, what other dinosaurs can we call Indo? The Indo-Brachiosaurus.
And I'm not into that. Like, I want real dinosaurs that existed in history. I don't want fake ones that some hack writer came up with.
Right.
All right, so I think that answers that one. So last question.
Yes. And this is at the Cinema Speak. And this really has nothing to do with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at all, but we like the question. And it says, which is the better set piece from the original Jurassic Park? T-Rex breaking out of its paddock, or raptors in the kitchen?
Ooh.
I think raptors in the kitchen, guys. That's what I'm going to go with.
Oof. Okay, why? Because I disagree.
Because I think it's more terrifying. I think raptors inherently are scarier than the T-Rex in the rules of the Jurassic Park series. Because when you're watching the first scene with the T-Rex escaping the paddock, it's the first one, so you're scared because it's the dinosaur breaking out, but you also have the knowledge that if you be completely still, it will not eat you. Now, the kids don't have that knowledge, and Ian Malcolm doesn't have that knowledge, and the lawyer doesn't have that knowledge, but Grant does. And in the kitchen scene, you don't have any rule like that for raptors. There's no safety rule. It's literally like, if they catch you, you are dead. And so it's just so suspenseful, man. And Spielberg is just a master.
I mean, I think I agree as far as like the raptors go. It does definitely make for a more suspenseful, more like immediate danger. But I think cinematically speaking, like the spectacle of the T-Rex is breaking out of the paddock is more memorable to me, and I think more enjoyable, because I mean you have like the rain, which is always good cinematically, right? And you have this giant dinosaur, and they're gonna get like crushed inside the cars, and it's getting flipped, and like
the mud.
There's this, the mud, like, and there's this element that like while the T-Rex is less scary because you can just be still, like that T-Rex might just kill you anyways, because it's big and giant, and like just stepping on your car and like messing with your car might kill you, or like it could incidentally step on you because it's kind of just a big clumsy dinosaur. There's like that element about it too, right? And yeah, and it also has like more people in it. You have like seeing them get attacked from like the other car, and you have the lawyer get eaten off of the toilet. I just love it. What do you think, Chris?
I think that it's really a matter of scale. You guys are both right, because they're both amazing sequences. It's just, do you like this larger size scale, with the T-Rex breaking out of the paddock, which has iconic movie moments in, movie history now, or the Raptors, which also has iconic moments, which is smaller scale, smaller dinosaurs, but I think they're both kind of the same. It's just, what do you like, big scale or little scale? And that's kind of the choices there. But they're both so amazing that I'm not going to choose.
No, you can't do that.
Cheater.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to choose, even if you change your mind later.
Okay, well, I guess then I will choose. I got to go with the T-Rex.
Yes.
I love the scale of it, and I mean, I love the raptor thing, though. I've already changed my mind back. You said I could change my mind, so I changed it to the raptors.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the raptors breathing on the outside of the kitchen door with like the fog on the door, I think that's super, super memorable.
Yeah, it's very iconic, yeah.
And like the feet chasing him into the freezer, like the shot
clicking.
from like the feet, yeah.
Yeah. And like them banging the spoon on the ground to like
and that fake out, yeah.
Wait, I think I just changed my way back to the T-Rex. So,
yeah. Fair enough. What's interesting about these, and I don't know if you guys know this, but like we were talking about some of like the technical things with like the CG and them looking better in one movie or the other, but both of these scenes, as iconic and great as they are, there are moments where you can spot like the filmmaking in both of them. Have you guys seen those moments?
I'm sure I have.
Yeah. Well, so there's one in the T-Rex breaking out where the camera like pans over as like the car's getting like spun around or something like that, and the T-Rex is messing with it. And like if you pause it, you can clearly see like potted plants and film lights in the shot. Like they're not even like hidden or like super out of focus. Like they're just there, right? Mm-hmm. And like I think like getting by with those sort of things is like a testament to how good these scenes are. And also with the raptors in the kitchen, when like the door first opens and the raptor's getting ready to come in, you can see a human hand come out and like steady the raptor mechanic because it's going to like tip over. And like they're plain as day, and like you never notice them because you're so into the scene. And if you haven't seen these, either never look at them because you won't be able to unsee them anytime you watch the movie.
Thanks for telling everyone about them then.
Look them up and watch them if you're interested. And it probably won't ruin. It doesn't ruin the movie for me. And those are just fun little tidbits.
Does knowing that one guy shows his penis in Teen Wolf make you not want to watch the Teen Wolf movie?
No, it makes me want to watch it more.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Chris loves that. One thing that I think has been kind of missing from this franchise since the first Jurassic Park is it's almost like the Spielbergian justice system, which is like you die by how you live and by your flaws. And like the lawyer died in a terrible way because he was a shitty guy who like abandoned children, right? And Dennis Nedry dies in a terrible way because he's betraying everyone and caused this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Muldoon dies in a heroic way because, he was trying to save Dr. Sadler, So I think that's something that's been missing from these other movies is this sense of like poetic justice.
Yeah, because we get scenes of like bad guys dying in like horrible ways that we're supposed to cheer at, right? And that's about the extent of that we get. Yeah,
it's like a bad guy doing a bad thing's not so bad, but like whenever it seems like a consequence of who they are as a person rather than just a consequence of like the last dumb thing they did.
I think they'd have to start off with a character in order to do that, right?
That's probably true. But
yeah.
Anyway, that was something I was thinking about when we were talking about Jurassic Park 1, which is just that I think a lot of that movie works so well is because every death that happens, whether it's a good guy or bad guy, is satisfying in some way.
Right.
Yeah, and you're also limited to like the amount of people on the island because so many people have gone home. So like everybody matters, right?
Exactly. So even the lawyer matters,
Cool. So I think that does it. If no one has anything else, do you guys want to give like any final thoughts, or do you like? I feel like I've said what I had to say, so I don't think I have any final thoughts that aren't already apparent.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, sorry if you like this movie and you're still listening. I hope you don't hate us.
It's okay to like movies we don't like. Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what you loved about it.
Yeah. If
because
we are wrong, tell us. I would love to like read another perspective on this movie.
Nothing would make me happier than like having to come on next week and be like, you know what, we've been pointed out, these things about this movie, and maybe it's better than we thought. Like I would love to be wrong and have to
absolutely
correct myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so you guys ready to do our final question?
I am.
Sure.
All right, so what is you guys' favorite dinosaur kill in this series?
I'll go first.
All right.
And that way, if somebody else has already picked this one, it's got to be Dennis Nedry, right?
The Dilophosaurus.
Driving off, trying to get his money and the DNA off the embryos off the island, and then he throws the stick for the what'd you call it, Mike? What kind of dinosaur is it?
Dilophosaurus.
Dilophosaurus. Yeah, and he's like, go fetch. He's like, oh, you're all dumb. No wonder you went extinct. And
if that were Blue, he would have known exactly what to do.
Yeah. And then just the way he dies, he goes out going blind, and it's really great.
It's disturbing and scary when you're a kid. It terrified me in theaters.
Yeah.
I was completely disturbed by that for many years, in a good way.
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite kill. How about you, Mike?
So I'm going to go with a kill from The Lost World. And it's not even a specific kill. It's the sequence I mentioned earlier with the raptors and the tall grass. Just every time some random guy is just taking out legs first in the tall grass and they fall.
Yeah.
And then the tail for the raptors shoot up and you just hear them munching. That's very effective to me. Like, less is more, in my opinion. And the raptors can be so terrifying in the right circumstances that, I think I'm going to have to go with that grass sequence in The Lost World.
It's a good one. I need to watch that. I have not seen that movie in so long.
Oh, man, there's that bird's eye view of, like, all the people walking through, like, the center of the shot, and then you see, like, the lines in the grass just getting closer to them, but you can't see the raptors.
From the outside.
Yeah.
That's
very
great.
cool. Very cool.
For sure. So mine is going back to the first Jurassic Park, and it is the clever girl scene.
Nice.
Yeah. Where the guy's going to hunt
Very cool.
Hunt down the raptor, and you think he's got her. He even says, like, I've got her, and he's pulling his gun back, and then he realizes what's happened, that they've outsmarted him. They've baited him by putting a raptor out there for him to see, and then the two raptors are coming in on the sides. And of course we get the clever girl line, right? Which is
that's awesome.
Iconic and in pop culture history and the meme world now. So
absolutely. And it's perfectly set up earlier in the movie too, whenever he talks about how raptors hunt, Yeah. It's just perfect, because you don't really think about it at the time because he's the raptor expert. And he's just explaining how scary raptors are. And then he's face to face with it. And it's just, just great.
I think that's like the first time we see a raptor kill someone, right?
Yeah, it's right when they first broken out.
Yeah, to that point, we've only seen them like tear up a cow in a thing pretty brutally.
Yeah, exactly. And then so it sets them up for later in the movie really well as well. Because it lets you know, like, if they can outsmart the hunter who knows what they're doing, what chance do these kids have?
Exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, we've talked a long time about the first Jurassic Park now.
Yeah, we have. Maybe we should split the episode in two and do a Jurassic Park episode.
Yeah, why not?
No. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you, as always, for listening, and thanks to Jake Wagner Russell for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bopscotch. All
right, our next episode is going to be over Sicario 2, Day of Soldado. We are going to have a bonus episode coming out sometime soon over Paul Schrader's First Reformed, and we will be releasing a Casually Criterion on David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers soon.
Yep, so if you want to ask us any questions that you want us to answer on the show about any of those films, you can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Casual Cinecast. You can also join our Facebook group and talk TV and film with us at facebook.com/groups/casualcinecast, or you can send in your questions or comments or feedback directly via email at casualcinemedia@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Welcome to Casual Cinecast. I don't know.
Perfect. That's good.
No, that was good. That's good.